Let me think about this for a second, give you a good answer. You want me to get a guy from the military?
I mean, I always ask that because it seems that most of that in our younger years, we get that context, we get that mentorship, and no question it should continue on, but it seems like we've had some powerful stories from mill guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have to be honest with you. There are some guys. I have been very fortunate to have I've been very fortunate throughout my career to work with people that just I got lucky that I worked with people that were exceptional. There were some people I worked with that were exceptional in what they did that I didn't really respect them on their personal level because they had bad morals, but they were exceptional in their job and I learned from them. But I had several different stints where I worked for guys that were exceptional and that really, really, really heavily influenced me. But I will tell you what really changed me. There was one moment. So I I spent like I meandered most of my career. I found that like if I was in a startup environment, I had this level of adrenaline and excitement about it because it's pioneering. So much in life is already pre prescribed right now. It's like you're in this architecture, it's already been built. Like you're just a monkey in a jumpsuit. And as a former SEAL, I can't handle that. I don't want to be a monkey in a jumpsuit. I want to be creative. I want to get my hands dirty. I want to get in there. I love to lead, but I also like rolling up my sleeve and get a little bit of, in the field of fire a little bit. I want to take a few punches and throw a few punches. So, so I found like environments where it enabled me to do that, right? Which was these small company environments that had big ideas, small companies, big ideas, going to change the world. We're going to do great stuff. Um, and but the thing was like that was only part of the equation for me because that wasn't aligned with like personal passion. So I was taking the incoming fire, I was putting effective fire down range. We're moving smallest unit squad tactics. We're building things, but the things we're building are not necessarily the things I really get excited about. It was just I was trying to for me, I was always trying to find um, I was always trying for the coolest opportunity and getting like this one. And I just had to make this one work. And that was the story. And fortunately I went through a lot of those experiences before the proliferation of social media, because who knows what sort of manic depressive I would have been if I was in a social media environment. And I think I'm gonna get this, I'm getting this. Um, but this isn't a military guy. This isn't a military guy. This is thinking really deep and saying, where did the light switch go on for me? And where did I change and make fundamental decisions that impacted like where I am today and why I'm excited about grapple science, other businesses I'm starting, and I'm really thrilled about the whole Killcliff thing and what happened there and how that turned out. So I got recruited for an interview for a CEO job. I'm like, oh, this is pretty exciting. But this tech company in Atlanta, they want to recruit me for a CEO job. They got three candidates and I'm one of them. And like they're a finalist. And there's a guy, he's a famous Atlanta tech entrepreneur. I've told this story. I told a story to the guys from the Honor Foundation when they came by to Killcliff. And his name's Josh Lieberman. In fact, he was the speaker. He was the key speaker. So I said this, I told the story before I had him up there. So Josh Lieberman, he interviewed me and we had a great conversation and about what I've been doing because I've been in a startup that we've been going for like 7 years. And he finally says, he's like, man, like, what's a guy like you doing in a place like that? And it just clicked, like that moment, it just clicked, like that something was not aligned in my life, in my career. Like, and we had a conversation and kind of unpacked that, but I'm a high energy, really creative guy. And I was in this company that I didn't have that much passion for what the company did. I was more passionate about this idea of building something. And so from that point, I actually immediately started like, I ended up not getting the job. So I was like, I'm a shoe in. He asked me that question. I crushed the interview. We hit it off. Like turns out he was a supporter of Navy SEAL Foundation. So I was like, I'm totally gonna get this job at this startup he's doing. I didn't get it. But I emailed him afterwards and I was like, I was very grateful for the time he spent with me. And I said, because he's really smart. We spent like a half day together. And I was like, look, man, like you've been super successful. Realize I'm not your guy, but would you be my mentor? Would you give me guidance? Would you help me understand like where my blind spots are? Would you like kind of like, be a sounding board for me? And he was 100% in on that. He's like, yeah, that'd be amazing. I love the conversation. You weren't a fit for this, but let's like keep the relationship alive. And to this day, like when I start these businesses, like I bounce the ideas off him. He's like, hey, here's where, like, when I was at Killcliff, he's like, here's where your blind spots were. Here's what you weren't good at. Here's what you were good at. And so, but it was that one conversation where things clicked for me. And I just realized that I needed to find the environment that gets me excited to get up in the morning and be productive, which is for me is the small startup, small company, early stage growth environment. But then I needed to also find the the industry or the niche or the segment that was interesting for me, which turns out as a team guy and as a guy who's been doing jujitsu, since when I started, there were only 100,000 people in America doing it. Now there's millions. Like I've been down that path and like being able to like when I went to Killcliff, that was the next thing I did after that conversation I had with that guy is I went to Killcliff as a consultant first, and then they ended up hiring me, and then they ended up making me the CEO. And I didn't ask for any of that; it just happened. But I was immediately like all of a sudden I was at peace in this weird sort of way. I was like, wow, I'm in the startup environment. I'm in a business where the product and the business idea is completely aligned with who I am and what I want is to consume as a person, also the things I value. And once I had that alignment, then like it was just thrilling. The whole Killcliff experience from the time I took the leadership to the time I left was thrilling. So I was proud to have had that experience and I learned so much from it. I made so many mistakes. I did so many things really, really well too. And one of the things that I got from that experience, when you're leading something, everybody gets imposter syndrome at some point. I'm like, dude, I'm a CEO. I don't know. I'm not most HR departments would fire me. Like I'm the CEO. Why am I a CEO? Like, but when I was CEO, I only had I only had two people leave the whole time I was there. Like people rallied around the business and we grew it. People would walk through walls because we created a great environment. We had operational excellence and execution. We created a great environment. But I learned to not be scared to take really smart, productive risks. Like when we went out and got Joe Rogan, I went out and got Joe Rogan. Like there wasn't a bunch of premeditation that went into that. I literally wrote the guy a 5 paragraph essay. And I just, I had, we supported somebody who was really good friends with him, and that guy delivered it to him. And then Joe, he loved what he read. He texted me, and we started a relationship. So, but you just have to be creative and not be scared to take a risk and punch out. But for me, like there were so many great military guys that I tried to emulate that I learned from, when I was in. But as my career advanced, I think the one sort of impactful moment I had, excuse me, was in that conversation with Josh Lieberman, where he basically looked at me. I was excited. I'm trying to get his job, be his CEO for him. I'd been a VP of sales for like 5 years before that. So I'm like, yeah, this is my step up. Let's go. And he just looked at me. He's like, dude, you're in the wrong place. Like, he's like,
Wow.
and so it put a lot of things in perspective because the other thing that I learned from that, and one of the comments that he made in the discussion that occurred shortly thereafter was and this probably goes to a lot of military guys. I know it goes the SEALs is we will take on a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort because we don't want to quit, because we want to prove people wrong, because whatever reason we have. And what I got from that conversation is like, the business was literally like putting lipstick on a pig. It wasn't going to go anywhere. Now, since then, there's been some pivots that were made, but I mean, that business was not set up for success. And I was in this consummate state of restructuring the business and trying to find new ways to win when it just wasn't a big enough idea or good enough technology at the time to make a difference and an impact. But I was like literally willing to run up Iwo Jima here, like trying to take a brand that was dead on arrival to make it something. And that was part of what he was pointing out to me was like, and part of it was like the lack of alignment, like with you and all your, your personality and everything you have, like, why are you in that environment? And then two, like, do you realize that the effort you're putting into that, if you actually bet on a winner, where you could be? So those were, I mean, I have to say, like, that was probably the most impactful moment. The other one I'll say, just, just to kind of round it out, because I got to give you more than one for two. When I was in private security, I did get to be Oprah security guard for a short period of time. That was awesome.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So
We got to get Oprah on Grapple Science, bro. We're
yeah,
gonna work
dude,
on
I'm
that.
just saying, like, I drove her to her airplane. I drove her around after Hurricane Katrina down this, and all the afflicted areas, and I did the whole security for a show in the Astrodome, and so, like, I was one with Oprah. I had a room right next to her in the Four Seasons. Um, but she didn't talk to me, but I think she waved. I think I saw, just like Gwen Stefani made eyes with me, and then she went and found Blake Shelton. So Oprah, she kind of looked at me from the window with that look, like, next time I'm in town, buddy.
I believe every word you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, man, I don't know if that's a good answer, Ryan, but like, I just have to think, I mean, it had so many experiences, but that one conversation really changed my perspective, and I started trying to find what was right for me at that point with a broader perspective. And I think being able to handle that the right way, go back and take a really talented guy who's doing the types of things you might want to be doing. Maybe they could be in a different industry, who cares? But has that experience, like being able to, like, say, hey, would you give me some advice? Would you guide me? Can I call on you from time to time? And he said, yeah. And where's in fact, I share stuff with him all the time. I send stuff to him that I'm working on, like, just recently, to get feedback, and he's always like completely candid, like, this is dumb, that's smart. Try this. So
Wow.
that was probably for me the inspiring moment that changed my trajectory for the better on a lot of stuff that I'm doing.